Tonight, you find yourself far away from busy roads, from glowing screens, from schedules, noise, and the endless movement of the world. Tonight, there is only rain, soft rain falling endlessly across a quiet lake hidden deep within the pine forest. And beside that lake rests a small wooden cabin. Warm light glows softly through its windows. Smoke rises lazily from the chimney into the cold night air. And somewhere inside that cabin, a fire crackles gently beside a comfortable chair. This is where our story begins tonight. Nothing more expected from you tonight. The day is done. Your responsibilities can rest now. Your thoughts can soften, and your body can finally begin letting go. Take a long, slow, gentle breath in, and exhale softly, again, breathing in calm and breathing out the weight of the day behind you. Now, feel the surface beneath your body supporting you completely. Notice how effortlessly you're being held. The bed beneath you asks nothing from you. The night asks nothing from you. Only softness, only rest, only this quiet moment. Now imagine hearing rain falling softly somewhere in the distance. Gentle rain tapping against the roof of the little cabin. Rain landing quietly across the still dark lake. Rain moving through the tall pine trees surrounding the water. The entire world feels slower there, softer there. And as you listen to the rain now, allow your breathing to slow naturally beside it, slow and steady, like tiny waves moving across calm water at night. Bring your awareness gently toward your feet now. Notice your toes, the bottoms of your feet, your heels, and imagine warmth slowly spreading through them. A comforting heaviness, as though your feet are sinking into soft blankets beside the fireplace inside the cabin. Every small muscle relaxing, every bit of tension slowly dissolving. There is nowhere your feet need to carry you anymore tonight. They can rest now. Allow this feeling of warmth and softness to move upward into your ankles, your calves, your lower legs. Feel those muscles loosening gently with every slow breath. Your knees soften now, your thighs growing heavier against the bed beneath you, relaxing deeper and deeper still. Outside the cabin, the rain continues falling steadily across the dark lake. The sound is peaceful, constant, like nature itself whispering you towards sleep. Take another slow breath in and exhale softly. Now bring your awareness toward your hips and lower back. Allow these areas to release all effort. Your body has carried you through an entire day. Tonight, it no longer needs to hold anything. Feel gravity gently pulling every muscle downward into rest. Your stomach softens. Your breathing becomes easier, more natural, rising gently with every inhale, falling softly with every exhale. Slowly now, guide your attention toward your chest and shoulders. Feel your shoulders dropping farther away from your ears, releasing every invisible weight they carried today. Every responsibility, every conversation, every lingering thought. Let it all drift away like rainwater disappearing into the lake. Your arms grow heavier now. Your hands relax completely. Nothing left to hold tonight. Nothing left to control. And now, soften your neck, your jaw, your cheeks, the tiny muscles around your eyes. Even your forehead smooths gently into stillness, as though the warmth from the cabin fireplace is slowly melting every remaining trace of tension from your body. Now imagine yourself inside the little cabin, the wooden walls glowing softly in firelight, a thick blanket wrapped around you, rain tapping rhythmically against the windows, the lake barely visible beyond the glass, dark, calm, silent beneath the storm. A kettle rests quietly above the fire, Room smells faintly of cedarwood, rain, and warm tea. Everything here feels peaceful, safe, protected from the world outside. And perhaps, for the first time today, you truly feel still. There is nothing you need to solve here, nothing rushing towards you tomorrow. Only this quiet cabin beside the rainy lake, only the sound of rain, only warmth and rest. Notice how much heavier your body feels now, how much quieter your thoughts have become. The rain continues falling softly, steady and endless, guiding your nervous system deeper into calm. Your breathing slows, your heartbeat softens, and somewhere quietly within you, sleep is already beginning. Not because you forced it, but because your body remembers the way. The same way rain falls naturally from the sky, the same way lakes become still at night, the same way the fire slowly settles into glowing embers. Sleep is natural, sleep is gentle, and tonight you are safe enough to surrender to it completely. So take one more long, slow, comfortable breath in, and exhale softly, feeling yourself becoming warmer, heavier, sleepier with every passing moment. The rain continues softly outside the cabin. The fire glows gently nearby, and the night holds you peacefully now, safe beside the rainy lake, safe inside this quiet little cabin, safe to rest, safe to dream, safe to sleep. The road leading to the cabin became narrower with every mile. What had once been smooth pavement slowly gave way to gravel, and eventually to a quiet, muddy path winding through dense pine forest. Rain fell steadily from the dark evening sky, not heavy enough to feel violent, but constant enough to soften the earth beneath the tires. The windshield wipers moved slowly back and forth, their steady rhythm blending with the sound of rain tapping softly against the car. Outside, the world had become muted. Grey mist drifted between the trees. Tall pines rose endlessly into the darkness, their branches swaying gently in the cold wind. And somewhere beyond those trees, hidden beneath the rain and fog, rested the lake. The drive had taken longer than expected. The storm moving across the mountains had slowed everything down. But strangely, there was no frustration in the delay, no urgency. The farther the road disappeared into the forest, the farther away ordinary life seemed to become. Emails, deadlines, noise, traffic, all of it slowly fading behind the rain. The muddy path curved gently to the left now, and through the mist, a warm yellow light finally appeared between the trees. Small at first, almost dreamlike, then clearer. A tiny wooden cabin sitting quietly beside the dark lake. Its windows glowed softly against the rain-covered night, warm golden light spilling into the fog. The cabin looked old, but cared for, its wooden walls darkened by years of rain and winter storms. A thin trail of smoke drifted upward from the chimney, disappearing into the cold evening sky. The lake beside it stretched silently into darkness, still and black beneath the falling rain. Only the faint movement of tiny ripples disturbed its surface. For a moment, everything felt impossibly quiet, not empty, not lonely, just peaceful, as though the cabin had been waiting patiently here for years, hidden deep within the forest, far away from the speed of the world. The car rolled slowly to a stop beside a small wooden fence. Rain continued falling softly across the roof, and for a few seconds, there was no movement at all, only the sound of rain, the distant whisper of pine trees, and the calm stillness of the lake. Then slowly, the engine turned off, and silence settled more deeply over everything. The door opened gently, Cold evening air immediately drifted inside. Fresh rain, wet earth, pine needles, the smell of the forest after hours of steady rain. Boots stepped carefully onto the muddy ground below. The earth felt soft beneath them. Small puddles reflected the warm cabin light like tiny pools of gold. The suitcase was lifted quietly from the back seat. Nothing rushed. There was no need to hurry here. The cabin remained glowing softly through the mist. Warm, inviting, safe. The short path leading toward it curved gently through tall grass and smooth stones darkened by rainwater. Tiny drops of water clung to every pine branch overhead, occasionally falling softly to the ground below. The forest itself seemed half asleep, still breathing quietly in the darkness. As the path continued forward, the lake slowly came into view beside the cabin, wide and silent beneath layers of drifting fog. Mist moved gently across the water surface like pale smoke, blurring the edges of the opposite shore until the entire lake seemed endless. The rain softened further now, becoming little more than a steady whisper across the trees and water. Somewhere in the distance, a loon called softly across the lake, its lonely echo drifting slowly through the fog, then fading back into silence. The cabin steps creaked gently underfoot, old wood softened by many winters. The porch light glowed warmly overhead, and beside the front door sat a small metal lantern, its glass fogged slightly from the damp, cold air. For a brief moment, everything outside the cabin felt suspended in time. The rain, the forest, the mist, the lake, as though the entire world had slowed down here. The key turned softly in the lock. The door opened, and immediately, warmth spilled outward into the cold night air. The smell of cedarwood and firewood drifted gently from inside. A fire crackled quietly somewhere deeper in the cabin. Golden light flickered across wooden walls, and just beyond the doorway, a soft armchair sat beside the fireplace with a thick folded blanket resting across it. The kind of room that instantly asks the body to relax. Boots were removed slowly beside the door. The sound of the rain became softer now, from inside the cabin. More distant, more comforting somehow. The kettle rested quietly atop the wood stove. The windows glowed amber against the storm outside, and beyond those windows, the dark lake remained calm beneath drifting mist and falling rain. For the first time in a very long while, there was nothing demanding attention. No noise, no pressure, no rushing, only the quiet cabin beside the rainy lake, only warmth, stillness, and the peaceful feeling of finally arriving somewhere safe. The suitcase was set gently beside the wall. The blanket lifted slowly from the chair, and as the fire crackled softly nearby, the storm outside continued drifting across the sleeping lake, calm, steady, endless, like the night itself quietly whispering, "You can rest now." Inside the cabin, everything felt warmer somehow. The cold rain and forest mist remained outside now, softened into little more than a distant sound against the windows and roof. The door closed slowly behind him with a quiet wooden creak, and for a moment, he simply stood there, breathing, listening. The tiny cabin smelled faintly of cedarwood, old books, rain-soaked fabric, and the comforting smoky warmth of the fireplace. A small lantern glowed beside the doorway, its golden light flickering gently across the wooden floorboards. Drops of rainwater slid slowly from the edges of his coat onto the mat below. The storm outside continued steadily, but inside the cabin, everything felt still, safe. The wet boots came off first, heavy from rain and mud. Placed carefully beside the door, where several older pairs already rested neatly against the wall. A small puddle of rainwater slowly gathered beneath them. Then the thick coat was removed, still cold from the forest air. It was hung beside the door on an old iron hook, worn smooth with age. The silence afterward felt immediate, comfortable. Only the soft crackling of firewood remained now, along with the gentle tapping of rain against the windows. A kettle rested quietly atop the small black wood stove near the kitchen counter. He crossed the cabin slowly, moving without hurry. The wooden floor creaked softly beneath each step. Everything inside the cabin seemed old, but dependable. A narrow bookshelf, a worn armchair beside the fire, a folded wool blanket draped neatly across the side, a tiny kitchen no larger than necessary, and beyond it all, the large window overlooking the lake. Dark water stretched endlessly into the rainy night outside, mist drifting silently across its surface. The kettle was filled carefully from the sink, cold mountain water splashing softly against metal, then placed back atop the stove to warm. Soon, a faint quiet sound began building inside it, the gentle beginning of steam. While the water slowly heated, he knelt beside the fireplace. The fire had grown smaller during the day. Only glowing embers remained beneath soft grey ash. A few fresh logs were added carefully, dry pine wood stacked beside the hearth. Then slowly, with a faint crackling sound, small orange flames began rising once again. Warm light flickered gently across the cabin walls. Shadows moved softly across shelves and windows. And almost immediately, the room felt even cozier. Outside, rain continued drifting steadily across the lake. The trees swayed softly in the darkness, and somewhere, far away across the water, distant thunder rolled quietly through the mountains. Not sharp, not frightening, just soft enough to feel peaceful. The blanket resting beside the chair was lifted slowly now. A thick wool blanket faded slightly with age, heavy, warm, comfortable in the way that only old blankets seem to become. It was unfolded carefully and placed across the armchair beside the fire. The fabric smelled faintly of cedar and smoke from many winters spent inside the little cabin. Then finally, tea. A small wooden box rested on the kitchen shelf beside several glass jars filled with dried herbs and loose tea leaves. The lid opened softly. Inside, dozens of small paper packets were arranged neatly beside one another. Chamomile, peppermint, lavender, black tea, and one small packet labeled simply, "Rainy Evenings." The packet was lifted carefully with a small smile. A blend made years ago almost by accident. Black tea, a little cinnamon, dried orange peel, cloves, and something faintly sweet hidden beneath it all. The kettle had begun steaming now, not boiling yet, just softly humming beside the stove. A ceramic mug was chosen slowly from the shelf above, dark green with tiny cracks spreading across the glaze from years of use. Tea leaves fell softly into the bottom of the mug, then steaming water poured gently over them. Warm, fragrant steam immediately filled the small kitchen space. Cinnamon, tea, orange, warmth, the kind of smell that instantly quiets the nervous system. The mug was carried carefully toward the chair beside the fire, and as he settled slowly into the blanket, the cabin gave another quiet creak around him, the storm outside growing softer somehow with every passing moment. A small soup pot rested quietly on the stove now. Simple vegetable soup prepared earlier that morning before the rain began. It warmed slowly beside the fire, tiny bubbles forming gently at the surface. The The smell of herbs and onions drifted softly through the cabin air. Nothing rushed here. Not the soup, not the rain, not the evening itself. Everything moved slowly beside the lake. And perhaps that was what made the cabin feel so peaceful. Time itself seemed softer here. The old book resting on the side table was lifted gently now, its cover worn smooth with age. A collection of nature stories written many decades earlier. The pages smelled faintly of dust and cedarwood. He opened somewhere near the middle, without checking the chapter title. The fire crackled softly nearby. Rain tapped steadily against the windows, and occasionally he would pause, reading just to look out across the dark lake. Mist still drifted silently over the water, blurring the edges between lake and sky. Cabin windows glowed golden against the storm outside, warm little squares of light surrounded by endless forest darkness, and inside, everything felt wonderfully small, wonderfully quiet. The soup simmered slowly. Tea remained warm between his hands, the blanket heavy across his legs, and for the first time in a very long while, there was absolutely nowhere else he needed to be. The world beyond the forest no longer seemed important tonight. The noise, the rushing, the endless movement of ordinary life, all of it felt very far away now. Only the rain mattered, only the fire, only the warmth of the tiny cabin beside the sleeping lake. Outside, pine trees swayed gently beneath the storm. Inside, the firelight flickered softly across the old wooden walls, and slowly, very slowly, the entire evening began settling into deeper stillness, like the night itself, preparing quietly for sleep. The rain continued steadily through the evening. Not loud, not violent, just constant enough to soften the entire world outside the cabin windows. Inside, the fire had settled into a slow, steady glow. Orange light flickered quietly across the wooden walls and ceiling beams. The soup simmered softly on the stove, and every now and then, the old cabin released tiny creaks from deep within the walls, as though the wood itself was slowly relaxing beside the storm. He sat quietly beneath the blanket, watching rain slide down the window, overlooking the lake, long uneven trails of water moving slowly through the golden reflection of the cabin lights. Beyond the glass, the lake remained dark and peaceful, mist drifting silently across its surface. The city already felt very far away now, almost unreal somehow. The crowded streets, the endless traffic lights, the sound of phones vibrating constantly, conversations overlapping in cafes, the low, endless hum of buses and distant sirens. For years, life had moved too quickly there, every hour scheduled, every day filled, even quiet moments somehow interrupted by screens, notifications, or the strange pressure to always keep moving. But here, none of that seemed to matter. The cabin existed outside of urgency, outside of noise. Even time itself felt different beside the rainy lake, slower, gentler, as though the world had quietly loosened its grip. The tea had grown cooler now, still warm enough to hold comfortably between both hands, steam rising softly into the firelit room. He leaned back deeper into the chair, listening. Rain against the roof, wood settling gently beside the fire, the occasional soft movement of branches outside the cabin, and underneath it all, a silence so complete it almost felt alive. Not an empty silence, not loneliness, something softer than that, a peaceful kind of solitude, the kind that asks nothing from you, the kind that allows the mind to finally rest. For so long, being alone in the city had felt different. There, silence often carried tension with it, a feeling that something should be happening, that productivity should continue, that there was always another task waiting somewhere, But the silence here felt warm, protective somehow, like the cabin itself understood exhaustion, understood the quiet need to disappear from the world for a little while. The old book remained open across his lap now, though he had stopped reading several minutes ago. Instead, his attention drifted slowly around the room, the shelves lined with old jars and weathered cooking pots, the raincoat hanging beside the doorway, slowly drying in the warmth, the soft glow of the lantern near the kitchen counter. Tiny details, unnoticed at first, now becoming strangely comforting. Outside, fog thickened slowly over the lake, the far shoreline disappearing completely into darkness, only rain and drifting mist remaining visible beneath the dim evening sky. And somehow, watching that endless rain made breathing feel easier, slower, the nervous system responding naturally to the rhythm of the storm. Inhale, rain against the windows. Exhale, fire crackling softly nearby. The soup was finally ready now. The small bowl warmed his hands as much as the food itself. Simple vegetable soup, nothing fancy. Carrots, potatoes, herbs from the garden beside the cabin. The kind of meal that belongs naturally to rainy evenings. He ate slowly beside the fire, occasionally pausing just to look back toward the lake, the rain still falling endlessly across the dark water. There was something deeply comforting about storms when experienced from somewhere safe, something ancient inside the human mind, relaxing at the sight of shelter, warmth, and light against darkness. The little cabin seemed to glow brighter as night deepened outside, its windows golden against the endless forest, like a tiny lantern hidden beside the lake, protected from the cold, protected from the world beyond the trees. And sitting there now, wrapped in warmth and silence, he realized how tired he had truly become before arriving here, not only physically, but mentally, emotionally, the kind of tiredness that builds slowly over months and years without being noticed. Too much noise, too much rushing, too much constant movement. The city had taught him how to keep going endlessly, but somewhere along the way, he had forgotten how to simply sit still, how to listen to rain, how to notice silence without reaching for distraction, how to exist peacefully without needing to accomplish something. The cabin seemed to remember those things for him. Every slow moment here felt like permission to rest, permission to breathe deeply again, to think less, to move slower, to let the nervous system finally unclench after years of tension. Outside, the rain softened slightly, now little more than a gentle whisk through the pine trees. Occasionally, small waves touched the edge of the lake shore with quiet, rhythmic sounds. The firelight continued dancing softly across the room, and sleepiness slowly began settling into everything, into the chair, into the blanket, into the slow, heavy feeling behind his eyes. Even the cabin itself seemed sleepy somehow, warm, still, half dreaming beside the rainy lake. He stood slowly and carried the empty soup bowl toward the sink. The floor creaked softly beneath his steps, then paused once more beside the large window. The lake remained hidden beneath drifting mist and darkness now, only the faint silver reflection of rain visible across the water. And for a long moment, he simply stood there quietly, no thoughts demanding attention, no urgency remaining, only the calm realization that the world continued perfectly well without rushing. The forest breathed softly outside. The rain continued falling peacefully through the night. And inside the tiny cabin beside the lake, everything finally felt still. The rain had become softer now, no longer a steady storm, just a gentle rhythm moving quietly across the roof of the cabin, soft drops tapping against the windows, tiny streams of water sliding slowly through the warm yellow reflections of the lamplight inside. The fire beside the chair had settled lower too. The bright flames from earlier now softened into glowing orange embers beneath darkening wood. Occasionally, a small crackling sound drifted through the room as the last pieces of pine wood slowly burned away. The cabin felt sleepier now, heavier somehow, wrapped completely in warmth and stillness. Outside, fog continued drifting silently across the lake, thick silver mist moving slowly above the dark water beneath the night sky. The pine forest surrounding the cabin had grown quieter too. The wind gentler now. Only the occasional soft movement of branches could still be heard beyond the rain. The blanket rested heavily across his body. Warm, comfortable, the kind of warmth that slowly pulls the body deeper and deeper into relaxation without being noticed. The tea beside the chair had gone cold now. Only the faint scent of cinnamon and herbs still lingered softly in the air. The old lamp near the window glowed quietly beside the storm, its golden light soft against the wooden walls, soft against the floorboards, soft against the edges of the room where shadows gathered peacefully. The wooden cabin creaked gently every now and then, old wood settling naturally into the cold, rainy night. Each tiny sound somehow comforting, familiar, like the cabin itself, breathing slowly beside the lake. He listened quietly. Rain on the roof, fire crackling softly, distant thunder rolling somewhere far beyond the mountains. The quiet whisper of water touching the lake shore. Everything moving slowly now, even thoughts themselves. The book resting across his lap remained open, though his eyes no longer followed the words. The sentences blurred softly together in the warm firelight, sleepiness pulling gently at the edges of awareness, the kind of peaceful tiredness that asked nothing from you, only rest, only stillness, only surrender. Outside the cabin window, the lake had become almost completely hidden beneath drifting fog. Only faint reflections remained visible through the mist, tiny silver ripples moving slowly beneath the rain. The world beyond the lake no longer seemed important tonight. The city, the noise, the rushing, all of it felt impossibly far away now, as though another life existed somewhere beyond the forest, but no longer belonged here beside the rainy lake. Inside the cabin, time moved differently, slower, softer, gentler. Every breath became deeper now, longer, calmer. Inhale slowly, warm pine-scented air filling the lungs. Exhale softly, releasing every remaining piece of tension into the quiet room. Blanket grew warmer, the chair softer, the fire dimmer, the rain steadier. Again, rain on the roof, soft lamplight, warm blanket, pine trees moving gently beyond the windows, the smell of cedar wood and tea lingering faintly in the air. Again, the crackling fireplace, the drifting fog across the lake, the slow breathing, the distant thunder somewhere far away. Again, the warmth of the cabin, the creaking wooden floor, the peaceful silence between each sound. Everything repeating softly now, like a lullaby carried through the storm. Nothing changing quickly, nothing demanding attention, only calm repetition, only the quiet movement of night itself. His eyes grew heavier with every passing minute. The firelight flickered slowly across the ceiling above. The rain continued softly against the roof, steady, comforting, endless. Somewhere outside, a final low roll of thunder drifted across the mountains and faded slowly back into silence. And afterward, everything became even quieter. Only rain remained, only the warm, sleepy cabin beside the dark lake. He pulled the blanket slightly closer around himself now, the wool soft against tired hands, the chair holding the weight of complete relaxation. No urgency remained anywhere inside him now. No need to think ahead. No need to solve anything before morning. Only this peaceful rainy night. Only this tiny cabin glowing softly in the forest darkness. The lamp beside the window dimmed lower now, the room becoming softer around the edges, golden shadows stretching quietly across the walls, the last embers in the fireplace glowing deep orange beneath layers of ash, the storm continuing peacefully outside, slowly, very slowly. He closed the old book, resting across his lap, the sound barely louder than the rain itself, then leaned farther back into the chair, breathing slowly, listening quietly, drifting deeper with every passing moment. Rain on the roof, warm blanket, soft lamplight, pine trees beyond the fog, fire fading lower, lake calm beneath the storm. Again, rain on the roof, warm tea scent, wooden floor creaks, distant thunder, slow breathing, heavy eyes. Again, the cabin warm around him, the storm peaceful outside, the lake sleeping quietly beneath drifting fog. Again, breathing slowly, body heavier, thoughts softer, sleep closer now, and little by little, the rainy night carried everything gently toward silence, toward dreams, toward deep peaceful sleep beside the lake, safe inside the little cabin, safe beneath the storm, safe to let go completely now. And outside, the rain continued falling softly through the endless night,